A pleasant day, everyone. I am Irene Pinuser, and we will tackle the topic manufacturing operation. What is manufacturing? It is the buying of materials, convert them into products, and then sell the products to other companies or to the final customers. So ano ang kahalagahan nito? It helps in the eradication of unemployment and poverty kasi mag-hire sila ng employees para sa production. Tataas na ang employment rate na kung saan magkakaroon na ng kakayahan ng mga na-hire na ito na i-provide yung mga expenses nila at doon nabababa yung poverty. The export of manufactured goods expands trade and commerce, and it also helps in prospering the country by giving a boost to the economy. So here is the comparison that will help us distinguish manufacturing from merchandising. Kapag sinabi kasing merchandising, kung ano mo siya binili, ganun mo rin siya ibebenta. Merchandisers will add a markup or gross profit amount and sell the products to customers at a higher price than what they paid. Kumbaga, lalagyan lang nila ng tubo. Sa merchandising, meron tayong tinatawag na retailers at distributor or wholesalers. Retailers sells products directly to customers. Kapag distributor or wholesalers naman, bibili sila ng bultuhan sa manufacturer tapos ibebenta nila sa mga retailers o kaya sa iba pang wholesalers na kagaya nila. Example ng merchandising ay yung mga grocery and department stores. Kapag manufacturing naman, nagkakaroon ng creation ng panibagong product. Bibili ka ng raw materials tapos ipaprocess yon at yung magiging finished product, yun naman yung ibebenta mo. Example nito ay yung automotive companies, bakeries, at shoemakers. So, ang main difference lang nilang dalawa is the way they acquire inventory for resale. Pero parehas naman silang nag-earn ng revenues by selling goods. Let's proceed to the elements of manufacturing costs. Ano ba ang manufacturing cost? Manufacturing cost is the cost incurred during the production of a product. Meron tayong direct materials, direct labor, and manufacturing overhead. First is direct materials. Direct materials are those which can be logically and readily identified with the product. Kung ano yung materials na makikita mo kahit finished product na siya. For example, lumber or wood for manufacturing furniture, steel for manufacturing automobiles. Next is direct labor. It represents labor which works directly on the product. It refers to the salaries and wages paid to workers that can be directly attributed to specific products or services. Sila yung mga machine operators or sa mga furnitures naman sila yung nag-assemble ng furnitures. The last element is manufacturing overhead. It includes all manufacturing costs that cannot be classified as direct materials or direct labor. So meron tayong indirect materials and supplies, indirect labor, and other indirect manufacturing costs. Sa indirect materials and supplies, these are the materials that are used in the production process but are not directly traceable to the product. For example is cleaning supplies. Indirect labor. It is the labor of those who are not directly involved in the production of the products. Those are the employees that assist the direct labor in the performance of their work. For example, maintenance and inspection labor and machine helpers. Other indirect manufacturing cost. Ito naman yung building, machinery and tool maintenance, real property taxes, rent expense, utilities expense, and depreciation on property and equipment. These major cost elements are at times combined into prime and conversion cost. Prime costs are all the direct cost of a product, those costs that can be traced conveniently to each unit. Direct material and direct labor costs are prime costs because they are main incremental costs of a product. Conversion costs are all manufacturing costs other than direct material costs. These are the costs that are incurred in converting direct raw materials into finished goods, which includes direct labor costs and manufacturing overhead costs. Let us now proceed to manufacturing inventory accounts. We have finished goods inventory, work in process inventory, raw materials inventory, and factory supplies inventory. Finished goods inventory. It refers to the number of manufactured products in stock that are available for customers to purchase. Ito yung mga binebenta ng mga manufacturers sa mga merchandisers. Work in process inventory. These are partially completed materials within a production cycle. Raw materials inventory. It is the total cost of all component parts currently in stock that not have yet been used in work in process or finished good production. The last manufacturing inventory accounts is factory supplies inventory. It is the cost of stock of supplies that have been bought already but not yet used or consumed. These are items used to carry out tasks in companies' departments outside of manufacturing or shipping. It is used in the manufacturing facilities but are not a direct material for the products manufactured. Example nito is cleaning supplies, machine lubricants. So, yun yung mga examples. As an example, dito sa manufacturing inventory accounts, may isang manufacturer na nag-decide na gumawa ng isang product. He or she must acquire the basis stock needed to build the product. It could be steel, wood, or plastic, or anything in its raw form. This stock is classified as raw materials inventory. These raw materials are machined and undergo processes. In the meantime, from raw material account, matatransfer na siya into work in process inventory. So, mula sa pagiging raw materials account, malilipat na siya sa work in process inventory. And after the goods have made it through the processes and are completely ready for the sale, ita-transfer naman siya to the finished goods inventory account. So, those are the comparison between manufacturing and merchandising, elements of manufacturing cost, and manufacturing inventory accounts. Thank you and God bless.
Good day. Let's talk about accounting for manufacturing activities. We have two accounting systems that we will be used in accounting for manufacturing activities. First is cost system and second is non-cost system. So, what is cost system? Cost system keeps perpetual records of the cost of raw material, work in process, and finished good inventories. This system provides more timely information about those inventories and changes in their levels. It has also produced timely information about manufacturing costs per unit of product, which managers use in their efforts to control cost. Cost system is the subject of courses in higher accounting. Ibig sabihin, dito papasok yung raw materials. Ito yung mga supplies na needed. Work in process, ito naman yung pagpaprocess ng production. Na hindi pa siya tapos pero malapit nang matapos. And last is finished good inventories. Ibig sabihin tapos na ang production, ready for sale na siya. What is non-cost system? Non-cost system produces a manufacturing accounting system based on the periodic inventory system. The cost of raw materials, work in process, and finished good inventories are based on physical counts of the quantities on hand at the end of each period. Ibig sabihin, this information ay magagamit para makompute ang amount sa lahat ng na-consume, na-finish na product, at nabenta during the period. Ang non-cost system ay hindi nag-provide para sa detailed flow of cost in manufacturing process. Now, we have pro forma journal entries of the more common transaction for a manufacturing entity. First is to record purchase of raw materials and indirect materials on account. Debit purchases raw materials and indirect materials. Credit vouchers payable. Second is to record cost of defective raw materials returned to vendor. Debit vouchers payable. Credit purchases returns and allowances. Third is to record payment of account within the discount period. Debit vouchers payable, credit purchases discount, and cash in bank. Fourth is to record freight and handling of raw materials. Debit transportation in, credit vouchers payable. Next is to record payroll for factory employees. Debit direct labor and indirect labor. Credit SSS contribution payable, Medicare contribution payable, Pag-ibig contribution payable, withholding taxes payable, vouchers payable. Next is to record employers' payroll expenses. Debit employers' payroll contributions, factory. Credit SSS contribution payable, Medicare contribution payable, EC contribution payable, Pag-ibig contribution payable. 7 is to record distribution of payroll. Debit vouchers payable, credit cash in bank. 8 is to record accrual of factory payroll. Debit direct labor and indirect labor. Credit accrued payroll. 9 is to record depreciation of factory building. Debit depreciation expense factory building. Credit accumulated depreciation factory building. Next is to record repairs on factory building. Debit repairs and maintenance factory building. Credit vouchers payable. 11 is to record amortization of patients. Debit amortization of patients. Credit patient. 12 is to record real property taxes on factory site. Debit real property taxes, credit vouchers payable. 13 is to record factory utilities incurred. Debit factory utilities, credit vouchers payable. Next is to record cost of tools used. Debit tools used, credit tools. 15 is to record sale of finished goods. Debit accounts receivable, credit sales. 16 is to record sales returns of customers. Debit sales returns and allowances, credit accounts receivable. So, lahat ng entries na yan ay magagamit na entries sa lahat ng transaksyon sa manufacturing. Sunod naman is closing entries. Closing entries particular to manufacturing concerns. In order for a manufacturer to summarize all the transactions that affect the computation of the cost of goods manufactured, a manufacturing summary account is maintained. So, ibig sabihin, kailangan na nating i-close ang credit balances, debit balances, manufacturing summary, and beginning finished good inventory to income summary, and the ending finished good inventory para makuha ang result at magagamit sa statement of cost of goods manufactured. To close manufacturing accounts with credit balances, and to record ending inventory for materials and work in process. Para ma-close natin ang credit balances, debit, raw materials inventory end, work in process inventory end, purchases, returns and allowances, purchases discount, credit, manufacturing summary. Next is to close manufacturing accounts with debit balances. Ngayon naman sa debit balances ang i-close natin. Debit, manufacturing summary, credit, raw materials inventory beginning, work in process inventory beginning, purchases raw materials, transportation in, direct labor, indirect materials, depreciation expense, factory building, repairs and maintenance, factory building, amortization of patients, real property taxes, factory utilities, tools use, employer, payroll contribution, factory supplies expense, miscellaneous factory expense. Next is to close manufacturing summary and beginning finished good inventory to income summary. Debit, income summary, credit, manufacturing summary, finished good inventory beginning. Last is to establish the ending finished good inventory. Debit, finished good inventory beginning, credit, income summary. The other closing entries after this procedure are the same as those for a merchandising entity. So, lahat ng manufacturing accounts ay na-close na. Kaya pwede na tayo mag-proceed sa Statement of Cost of Goods Manufactured. That's all. By the way, I am Stephanie Gilnawe from the SMA. Thank you for watching.
Good day. This is the continuation of the topic here in Lesson 8. By the way, I'm Eliza Camille C. Ombid from BSMA 1A. So, the last topic in previous report is about accounting for manufacturing activities. The reporter discussed and showed the pro forma journal entries of the more common transactions for manufacturing entity. And now, I will discuss about statement of cost of goods manufactured, statement of cost of goods sold, and worksheet for a manufacturing entity. Let's proceed here in the first topic. We have inventory, manufacturing inventory accounts. It is subdivided into 3 sub-accounts: raw materials, working process, and finished goods. And if we take working process, one of the sub-accounts, and actually add 3 items: direct materials use, direct labor use, and manufacturing overhead incurred, we will get a figure known as cost of goods manufactured. Remember that. We have here the sample format of how to prepare cost of goods manufactured. The statement of cost of goods manufactured of Karen Leon Manufacturing Corporation for the year ended December 31, 2019. So this statement normally started in direct materials used, and we consider here the purchases of materials. We have beginning inventory of raw materials, add net purchases, the purchases of raw materials, and then deduct or less purchases, returns and allowances, and purchases discounts. After that, add transportation in, and the total will be the raw materials available for used. And at first, we add the beginning inventory, right? Then it is necessary to subtract the ending inventory of raw materials. And after the deduction of this ending inventory, we can now get the total cost of direct materials used. And we're done with this first items, which is direct materials used. After this direct materials, the next one is direct labor. And once we're done with this direct labor, we can now proceed to the next items, which is the manufacturing overhead. Here, we will only add all these items under manufacturing overhead. So in other transactions or problems that we may encounter and we have to make statement of cost of goods manufactured for this, some of the manufacturing overhead items that are listed here in the sample that we have, it may also have that problem and it may not have. Once we're done adding all of this under the manufacturing overhead, we can get the total cost of manufacturing overhead. So after the computation for the three items, which is the direct materials used, direct labor use, and manufacturing overhead, by adding the total amounts of these three, it will result in total manufacturing cost. And it doesn't end here, because next step is we need to add the beginning work in process to the total manufacturing costs we got, which will result in the total cost of goods placed in process. And once we get it, of course, we need to subtract the ending work in process. And finally, after it is deducted, the amount we will get is the cost of goods manufactured. Again, cost of goods manufactured statement displays the cost of products manufactured in a period by breaking down the cost into direct materials, direct labor, manufacturing overhead, and changes in work in process. Cost of goods manufactured will ultimately be added to finished good and be expensed as cost of goods sold. Total manufacturing cost should not be confused with the cost of goods manufactured. Total manufacturing costs are the cost of direct materials used, direct labor, and manufacturing overhead incurred and charged to production during an accounting period, while the cost of goods manufactured consists of the total manufacturing cost related to the products completed during an accounting period. This statement is also called the manufacturing statement. Next topic is statement of cost of goods sold. The difference in the statement of comprehensive income of a merchandising and a manufacturing entity lies in the cost of goods sold section. As illustrated, observe that the merchandiser used the term merchandise inventory while the manufacturer used the term finished goods inventory. A merchandiser's entire inventory is finished goods. It has no materials inventory and work in process inventory. A manufacturer produces its own finished goods inventory. Cost of goods manufactured is the manufacturer's counterpart to the merchandiser's purchases. Net purchases is the cost of all the goods a merchandiser bought for resale during the period. Cost of goods manufactured is the manufacturing cost of the goods completed during a production period. The last topic is about worksheet for manufacturing entity. A worksheet for a manufacturing entity is basically the same as that for a merchandising entity, except that it includes a pair of columns for cost of goods manufactured. All the accounts that comprise the statement of cost of goods manufactured are extended to these columns. The beginning raw materials inventory and work in process are debited in the manufacturing columns, while the related ending inventories are credited. The other manufacturing accounts are debited or credited as necessary. The difference between the total debits and total credits of the two columns is then extended to the debit column of the statement of comprehensive income. Beginning finished goods inventory, being a component in the computation of cost of goods sold, is extended to the debit side of the statement of comprehensive income columns, while the ending finished goods inventory to the credit column. And here my report ends. Thank you so much.